This is Golf with Jay Delsing. A two-time All-American at UCLA. A participant in nearly 700 PGA Tour events. 7 professional wins to his credit. Over 30 years of professional golf experience. A member of the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. This is Golf with Jay Delsing.
Hey, good morning. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. I'm your host, Jay. I got Pearlie with me. Longtime caddy. Pearlie, 100 tournaments under your belt on the PGA Tour, author, successful business person, quasi-retired world traveler. Let's see, I'm trying to stay upbeat and not diminish your accomplishments. How'd I do today?
Well, why do you have to worry about diminishing my accomplishments? Why is that hard?
It's not hard. I thought I did a great job. Stayed up, real high energy, because you said it sounded like I was kind of trailing off on you the last couple of weeks.
I love it. I love it. You're inspiring me about me. Thank you.
Well, anyway, the Golf with Jay Delsing show is brought to you by Daugherty Business Solutions. We want to thank Ron Daugherty and his team. They are just great community stewards, and we appreciate them sponsoring the show. Folks, the last Sunday of every month, we are going to start doing a live remote Golf with Jay Delsing show at Wild Crush Wine Bar. Next Sunday from 4 to 5, February 26th, we'll be at Wild Crush, and we are going to be doing a live show. Come in. I'll buy you a drink. We'll have some fun. I'll give some golf giveaways. So we're going to do a show next week from Wild Crush. So that's going to be really fun, Pearl.
Well, I'm taking bets on whether the audio is working the way it's supposed to or not. So far, it's kind of a 50-50 toss-up, but we'll see.
The fact that you're saying 50-50 is much better than I would say. I've been working on this thing, and I have zero amount of confidence in my ability to work tech. You know how that goes. I suck at that.
We get Danny Mac in there, then we know everything will work just right.
That's right. We're getting the great Danny Mac. So anyway, guys, so we formatted the show like a round of golf. This first segment is called the On the Range segment. It's brought to you by the Gateway section of the PGA. A great sponsor, great people, over 300 men and women in the area, working right now, bad weather, good weather, for our benefit to make the game and our experience much better. So we really, really appreciate them. We also appreciate Jeff Thornhill with TaylorMade Golf. Thorny supplies us with a dozen TP5 golf balls to give away each week. So we just sent out 4 dozen from last month, January. Send me an email, jay@jdelsinggolf.com, and you'll be entered into the drawing. Folks, we'd love to hear from you about the new format of the show. 2 weeks ago, we had David Faraday drop-ins. Last week, we had the great Tom Watson. Today, we've got Lee Trevino. jay@jdelsinggolf.com. I'm excited to hear from you. The podcast I'll be doing is with Danny Mac, 4-time Emmy Award winner Danny Mac, and it's called Beyond the Fairways with an S. So we'll have great guest interviews, some innovations, a lot of really fun stuff. So Beyond the Fairways with an S, subscribe wherever you can, please. All right, Pearl. So we got to sit down this week with the Merry Mex, Lee Trevino. Man, I got to tell you, John, this was really a thrill. As you know, Lee was part of the celebrity shootout at last year's Ascension Charity Classic, along with Coach Berube, Captain Ryan O'Reilly, Hale Irwin, Nancy Lopez. And this is what Lee had to say about his return to Norwood Hills Country Club, because Lee Trevino in 1972, John, won the Greater St. Louis Golf Classic.
Well, and I wanted to say one thing. I didn't recognize the golf course much, but I'll tell you this. I don't know when they redid the golf course, but my hat's off to the membership and the architect and the people that were behind it, because they did a hell of a job. It is wonderful. I really enjoyed coming back and playing. The clubhouse is immaculate, and it was the members are lucky to have it. I'm telling you that right now. Yeah.
His kind words about Norwood are not lost on me. Norwood is such a sleeper, don't you think?
You know I love that place. They've done a phenomenal job kind of reworking a little bit of the clubhouse, and the golf course has always been fantastic. It's one of those places I hate when I hear them talking about making changes, because I think it's fantastic already.
So, John, a lot of people had asked me this about Trevino, that he made a guest appearance in the movie Happy Gilmore. Such a fun movie. Adam Sandler did just such a great job, but the rumor had it that Lee wasn't happy about that movie. So I had to ask him about it.
I've never seen it from
really?
All the way through, but I wasn't used to all the bad language And I kind of been a protector of bad language around ladies and around kids. And it kind of disturbed me a little bit. Now, today, no problem. I could do a movie now. Hell. But those words are used so much now that nobody would laugh. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but back then that was a kind of a different thing. And it kind of bothered me a little bit.
Bro, that's interesting, isn't it? I didn't even think about what the reason that he was a little reticent to being in that movie.
Yeah, I have to say, from one or two of my experiences, I'm surprised at that. But I'm glad he's talking that way. It's traditional, and it's the right way to look at golf.
I had also heard that Lee was not a huge fan of locker rooms, bro. I also heard this, that he was changing his shoes in the parking lot at Augusta. So I said to Lee, what's up with locker rooms?
Well, I think it's a waste of time. You know, I spent, listen, when I started the tour, I would go and play, and I'd go 2.5, 3 hours early. I'd hit balls for 3 hours, then I'd go play the tournament. When I finished, and they'll tell you this, and then when I finished, I would go to the driving range and I'd hit balls till dark. Then I would drive my car to a fast food place. I'd get a milkshake, 2 hamburgers, and some French fries. And then I would look for a driving range. And then I would hit balls till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I did this all the time. Besides that, I ran 3 miles at the track every day. I'm suffering from it now because I've got bone on my knees. But this is what I did. I don't like to do anything that wastes time. When the sun's out, golf ball's meant to be hit.
And gosh, bro, that's funny. I don't like to waste time, man. That rolled right off the top of his tongue. He's pretty strong on that.
Talk a little bit about, he's a little different relative to the whole socializing out there. He was no socialite, was he?
No, you know what, John? That's a good point. Even though he was a character, and he had this persona of that, he really wasn't. I mean, I'm not saying Lee Trevino's not approachable. He's 100% approachable, but he had a little edge to him, and I think that's what made him such a good champion.
Absolutely, but I mean, he was very accommodating on the golf course, but I think away from the golf course, he didn't necessarily hang a whole bunch with the other guys and do things. Wasn't he kind of on his own?
Oh, and he was a hard worker. Holy smokes. Well, you know, John, at Butler National Golf Club in the suburbs of Chicago during the Western Open, Lee Trevino was actually struck by lightning on the 13th green, that really difficult par 3.
Kind of set me back a little bit. Nobody really knew too much about, lightning. And it kind of entered. I was with Jerry Hurd, which I thought was one of the finest players I'd ever been up against. And he never played again. I mean, this guy would have set some records. He would have won some majors. I mean, not much telling what he could have done. And I was with Mike Fetchick, which was a big club pro out of New York, but he was a tremendous player. He had played on the senior tour and done whatever he had to do. But the three of us were I think it was a par 3, 12 or 13 there at Butler. And at that time, they didn't have the sirens and the warnings and all that stuff about lightning and in the air. So they called the tournament because it was cloudy and it was fixing to rain. So we stayed there on the 13th hole. And I guess a lightning bolt, what we figured, it hit the lake. And the rays bounced, in other words, sideways, and caught me, Bobby Nichols, Arnold Palmer's golf club. Mike Fetchick, believe it or not, didn't have any problem.
Pearl, it's amazing that he even lived through that, John.
Well, thank goodness he did, but that's been kind of the watermark for the rest of the golfers ever since then, hasn't it, Jay, as far as paying more attention? The tour got more serious about it. I think in general, golfers, like fishermen, are great about getting off the golf course or getting off the water. It's nothing to mess with. It's just not a laughing matter.
I was playing up in Hazeltine, and I am walking down I am in the middle of the 10th fairway. And John, it's the worst weather I've ever been on a golf course for. And if you can imagine the way I grew up, we didn't pay too much attention to the weather. And I looked at my caddy and I said, Bob, we're out of here. We're going in. And he goes, what? I said, there's a rule. If I feel like my life's in danger, I can leave. I said, I was playing with Bobby Watkins and Dave Rummels. Never forget this, Pearl. And I said to those guys, I grew up in this Midwestern weather. This is no good. It's dangerous. I'm out. They turned around. They said, we're out too. John, literally within 15 minutes, and you can look this up on Google. 7 people on the 11th tee, John, just about right where we were struck by lightning and killed in the U.S. Open in 1991.
Yeah, it's serious stuff. I vaguely remember that story with you. It's just not to be dealt with, and it's dealt with a whole different way, isn't it, now on tour?
Oh, yeah. We have the Thor guards, Pearl, and we have such great warning systems, and so the everyone's life is so precious. It's nice that they've done such a good job. And I hated, as a sidebar, I got to meet Jerry Hurd, who's a really quality person, and I hated to hear that lightning absolutely derailed his career. Lee spoke so highly of him, saying that he probably would have been a major champion on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I certainly remember the name, but I guess I didn't remember that ended his career.
That's too bad. And the last question I got to ask the great Lee Trevino, who won 6 major championships and 29 events in really less than 13 years on tour, such a short period of time. Lee said this about the length of his career.
A lot of people ask me all the time. They always say, they think that I had a long career, but I did not. I played 13 years, and then I hurt my back. I got hit by lightning, as you well know, in 75. And then I was out for another year, so I really didn't even play 13 years. And then I didn't have anything to do, so I had no options. I had to get my body back in shape and get back out there. But yeah, 13 years was it. I won 6 majors, 29 tournaments in those 13 years. That all that means is that I hit a hell of a lot of practice balls.
The great Lee Trevino. I'll give you the first takeaway.
I didn't know that about the length of his career. I do remember injuries and things like that. I remember how wildly competitive he was. He's a gamer. He's a showman, and he's a little bit of a con guy, too, I think, inside there somewhere.
He's a character, and you don't grow up the way he does. You're not pulling anything over on Lee Trevino. There's no way in hell. And maybe on the 19th hole, I'll tell a Lee Trevino story about my experience on the PGA Tour. But right now, Pearl, I'm going to tip my cap. The tip of the cap is brought to you by the Dean Team Volkswagen of Kirkwood and our guy, Colin Byrne. 314-966-0303, or send me an email, j@jdelsinggolf.com. I'll introduce you personally to Colin. He's that good a guy. I am tipping my cap to the groups like the Phoenix Thunderbirds and any other tournament organizations, like the one we have here in St. Louis, John, that runs the ACC, the Ascension Charity Classic, our team at HNS with Tim and Connor and Michael, Alonzo and Maggie and all the groups. I know I'm forgetting some. These folks work all year round to have an event come together in 1 week of the year, Pearl, and they absolutely smash the event, raise ridiculous amounts of money for folks in need in our community. They just do great work, and so I'm tipping my cap to them. And again, I want to thank Colin Byrne and the Dean Team Volkswagen of Kirkwood. You can reach them at 314-966-0303. Pearl, that's going to do it for the On the Range segment, but don't forget to subscribe to Beyond the Fairways wherever you get your podcasts. Pearlie and I will be right back as our month-long series on teachers and golf instructors continues with Family Golf and Learning Center's own JR Remspecher. This is Golf with Jay Delsing, and of course, it's brought to you by Daugherty Business Solutions.
That was On the Range with Jay Delsing. For news on the latest golf equipment, tips, and to ask Jay a question, log on to jdelsinggolf.com. Coming up, it's the Front Nine on Golf with Jay Delsing.
I love having Daugherty Business Solutions as the title sponsor of the Golf with Jay Delsing show. You already know that they're the #1 largest IT consulting firm and the largest software developer in the St. Louis region. You also know that there are over 2,500 Daugherty teammates in 30 states and 3 countries around the world. But what you may not be aware of is what Daugherty Business Solutions does right here in our own community. They were the sponsor for the first Advocate PGA event at Glen Echo this past September. Daugherty Business Solutions was also a presenting sponsor of the Ascension Charity Classic. They have created Access Point, which builds diversity in the IT workforce. This is a game changer in our community. Literally, hundreds of mostly young African-American women are getting $50,000 to $60,000 per year jobs right out of high school, and that training begins in high school. Daugherty Business Solutions believes talent is equally distributed, but access to that opportunity is not. Ron Daugherty, our founder at Daugherty Business Solutions, is the chair of the 2023 Heart Ball, supporting the local American Heart Association Foundation. These are just a few examples of the positive things Daugherty Business Solutions is doing right now in our community.
You're listening to Golf with Jay Delsing. To connect with Jay, log on to jdelsinggolf.com. You'll see the latest in equipment, find the latest innovations in golf, and get tips from a PGA professional. That's jdelsinggolf.com.
The official vehicle provider of the Golf with Jay Delsing show is the Dean Team. The Dean Team Volkswagen of Kirkwood. They provide me, Pearlie, and our families with all of our cars. The reason we went with the Dean Team is because we could trust them. We knew at the Dean Team they were going to take care of us, and they have. They made the entire car buying experience so simple. It was more than just simply selling us a vehicle. The Dean Team made our car buying experience seamless and enjoyable throughout that entire process. The Dean Team has the complete car buying steps done before you head into their showroom. They're ready to answer all your questions and set your mind at ease when buying a vehicle. At the Dean Team, they offer new, pre-owned, and all the services included with your Dean Team purchase. When you're with the Dean Team, they become lifelong friends. The Dean Team Volkswagen of Kirkwood, located at Manchester Road in Kirkwood. The Dean Team.
The Legends of Golf return to St. Louis in 2023. You won't want to miss one of the strongest fields in golf. Ernie Els, Steve Stricker, Bernard Longer, John Daly, and many more when they compete for the 2023 Ascension Charity Classic title, September 5th through the 10th at historic Norwood Hills Country Club. All proceeds benefit area charities. Together, we were able to donate over $1 million to those most in need last year. Visit AscensionCharityClassic.com.
This is the Front Nine on Golf with Jay Delsing. The Front Nine is presented by the Ascension Charity Classic, September 5th through the 10th at Norwood Hills Country Club. Find out more at AscensionCharityClassic.com.
Good morning, this is Jay, and I am with JR Remspecher this morning. He is the teacher extraordinaire down at Family Golf Center. JR, thanks for joining me this morning.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So let's talk a little bit about, you have a tremendous love for the game, obviously, and for coaching and teaching. Let's talk a little bit about how you got involved in golf.
I would say my first experience in coaching and teaching was as a caddy that I was actually reprimanded for. I remember caddying for a woman at Algonquin Golf Club here, and she required a shot that would curve around a tree. And I said, well, if you set up this way, point the face this way, and just kind of make your normal swing, I bet you we get it right around that tree. And she certainly hit it right around the tree, and
it worked.
Yeah, it worked. It absolutely worked. I remember hearing about it from the head professional a few weeks later, because Mrs. So-and-so went into the golf shop and said, oh, this caddy did a nice job, get me to curve it around that tree. And I was promptly told as a 12-year-old that the golf professional would do the instruction there.
Wait a second. So you were 12 years old, JR?
12 years old, correct. Yep.
How did you, man, that's an amazing amount of awareness for a 12-year-old.
Well, growing up caddying, helped a bunch to kind of see the requirements of playing the game and understanding a little bit, just the very littlest bit about path and face and how to get the golf ball to curve.
Gosh, I look back at the way that we were taught the game, and when we were hooking too much, JR, and people are probably tired of me telling this story, but we were always taught that we just weren't swinging far enough to the right, and we never, ever related anything to club face.
Sure, that's a benefit of having the technology that we have today, that all that has been cleared up. That it's way more about face and where the face is pointed to start where the golf ball is, and then path is a secondary influence.
Right. So that's a great thing. We're probably jumping ahead a little bit, but JR, tell the people, tell our folks that are listening, in your opinion, how important face is compared to path.
I'm not certain of the exact percentages, but I believe it's 75 to 85% of the start line, dependent on club, if you have a wedge or a driver, is going to be where the face is pointed. So we need to have face awareness within the path, because as the path moves in one direction or another, the face is coming along for the ride as well.
And typically speaking, if the path goes one direction, the face is headed the other, correct?
Correct, yeah, because that's the way most humans would naturally match up in order to get the golf ball to fly to their intended target.
Yeah, so what I mean by that, folks, is if you're swinging a little more out to the right, you're going to shut the club face down a little bit to get it to have a chance instinctually to get your ball back on target.
And I would say in most instances, it's the other which way around.
Right.
Where most people are cutting across the golf ball and then having to manage the face and how open they keep the face, to kind of hit that weaker deflected shot to kind of keep it online.
That's the shot that I'm sure as a teacher you see more and more right-handed golfers, left-handed golfers are slicers in general.
Yep, absolutely.
So talk to us a little bit about playing. How much playing did you do, and what was that like for you?
So I played all sports growing up. I played high school golf, didn't play golf in college. It wasn't a priority at that time. When I went to college, I started playing more golf because I wasn't in school all day long. I had an opportunity to manage studying and recreation in a different way. And I started playing a bunch of golf with somebody that was a state champion in the state of Maine, and started beating them. And it's like that was not the experience or echelon I kind of competed in high school. And as I focused on it a little bit more, it became more and more intriguing. And I moved back to St. Louis in between college a little bit, and decided it's like, what could I do every day? Look at myself in the mirror, be happy with myself every single day. And getting into the golf business was a good priority at that point. Made sense for me.
And JR, it's so cool because that's a life lesson right there. Forget golf, forget anything. I mean, if you can do that, you pretty much have it licked, don't you? Whether I know people get caught up in money and things like that, but the stuff that gets you out of bed is the thing that drives us all.
Absolutely. And that's very fortunate to have a supporting family that understood that if you follow passion, follow dream, that the money will hopefully eventually come if you're, doing your diligence there.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. So obviously, look, I've got 4 children and I know myself how I was. Your intellectual look at breaking down the golf swing at 12 years old was much more advanced than mine. So now you're going to start getting into teaching a little bit.
Sure. So as I was cutting my teeth as a PGA professional, I was fortunate enough to work at Bandon Dunes in Oregon, and I started to learn how to teach under Grant Rogers there. He's a master PGA professional, has a very Zen-like attitude. But I was
if you lived up on that Oregon coast, you'll be zen like it. Is that one of the prettiest places? We're going to interrupt.
It is
you
absolutely gorgeous, and with how gorgeous and nice it is during the summer, it's wild during the winter. So you get you have the juxtaposition between this very mild, sunny but windy weather during the summertime, and then it gets wild during the wintertime. So it's kind of fun.
Oh my gosh! I can tell you a quick story. I remember I was playing in an outing for the Hope Hospital up in Chicago, and I met a guy named Michael Kaiser.
Sure. Who
I had no idea who he was, and he told me that he was into building golf courses. He was just going to get in there, and he bought 1,000 acres in a place called Bandon, Oregon. And I said, gosh, UCLA days, we went to Oregon a lot. I don't know where Bandon is. He goes, no one does.
No one does, yeah.
And then I saw him again probably a year later, and he said, damn, I wish I'd have bought more.
Right, and now he's the most successful golf course developer that, of this generation, hands down, bar none.
And it's interesting, JR, his courses that he's developing are just absolutely spectacular. A lot of sand-based and really, really fun, really neat.
And you say sand-based, watching the golf ball bounce is absolutely amazing. It's something that here in Missouri we get for weeks at a time, only for, sometimes in the spring, maybe a little bit in the fall. And it's very interesting and very intriguing. That helped really solidify my passion for the game, is being able to have to hit different shots when you're playing links golf.
Links golf is such a different animal, isn't it? It's one of my favorites. Anyway, we kind of hopped off track.
Sure.
So sorry about that. This is kind of what our show's like anyway. So you were talking just about you were in band and you were kind of learning your game, some of the early influencers to help you kind of develop your sense.
So Grant Rogers was the master PGA professional out there. I was very fortunate. I was one of the only assistant professionals that was allowed and encouraged to teach. And I'm not certain if that's a skill that they had seen in me, but I was able to help with the links lessons that we had and the golf academies that we had, which was not really extended to most of the other professionals. Head professionals were there, but none of the other assistants. So I really was able to, start to get some understanding and just sit there and be quiet and listen to them, spoke when spoken to, see, be able to recognize the patterns within what they're, saying, and also, have a little bit of input when there was a pattern that I would see.
JR, one of the things that's unmistakably, folks, you've got to look JR up down at Family Golf Center and get a lesson. Just hang out with this guy because you have a vibe about you that is first of all, is awesome. And what I'm going to say is you telling your story about how you listen and how you speak when you're spoken to, those are kind of throwbacks. Those are kind of the things we were taught when we were growing up. And the fact that some of the master professionals, some of the influential folks saw at an early age that you had a gift to teach, that gets overlooked an awful lot in this world in general, doesn't it?
Sure. I mean, I'm only as good as the information that I've been presented. I mean, I can seek some out on my own, but I use anecdotes from a guy, Gene Miranda. He was the golf coach at Air Force Academy. And I won't share them here. They're anecdotes that are for lessons, but they were so sticky. This is 16, 17 years ago. They were so sticky because they were from his knowledge base, which I had full respect for. And I hope that I'm building that same knowledge base to be able to give some of these little nuggets of wisdom to, and ultimately gather the respect of those that I share them with.
Yeah, absolutely. So, gosh, so when you look at your golf life to this point, you've had some really great, kind of extensive experiences and travels from both coast to coast. We're talking about Maine. We're talking about Bend in Oregon.
Sure. The other, I also worked at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs for a while. I was very fortunate to putt with Dow Finsterwald and get some understanding of the history of the game that was there. And that was another place, that allowed me to teach as an assistant, which wasn't normal. And this isn't something, Jay, to be very clear, this isn't something that I sought out at that time. It was something that was presented to me that's like, oh, you should do this. I'm not certain if it was my, ability to connect with other people, to communicate with other people, but it was presented to me that, hey, you should go teach Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. And it always turned out to be pretty fruitful.
I'm visiting with JR Remspecher. JR, one of the things that's interesting is that teaching is a gift. There's a tremendous amount of communication skills that you, listening to your story, it's so interesting because we as students receive information differently, don't we?
Sure. There's many different learning types. There's people that can hear instruction and can execute right away. There's people that need to see it. Some people that just are fully feel-based. The model that we work through as PGA members is kind of in three parts as far as the learning is concerned. We would kind of have words, knowledge, concept. That would be, step number one. Then we create a second one, which would be image and feel. And then once you can get number one and number two done with 100% competency, then you can step on to number three, which is autonomy. And that's what everyone's looking for. I want to be more consistent. We want these changes that people make to actually get in their golf swing and stick. Now, there's always going to be some, return to pattern if we're not working on stuff. But if you can do one, which is image, words, concept, perfect, words, concept, perfect, and then the second one is image and feel perfect, then you actually have a chance to get that to stick for the long term.
Aren't we interesting as humans where we would we're going to be inclined to much revert back to something that's comfortable, even though we know with all of our being that it's not going to be effective?
Sure. It's an old comfortable shoe, or I was just recently shared this way to describe it as running home to mama.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
There's comfort in there.
Yep, absolutely.
And it was maddening for me because I would be like, I'm convinced, I'm working on this and I'm doing it and I've overdone it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get on video and go, I haven't done it enough.
Sure.
And so the feel on, there's the saying on the PGA Tour is your feel ain't real.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's alive and well for everyone, isn't it?
Well, the golf swing, the downswing has happened in a tenth, a quarter of a second. That's fast.
That is really fast.
And so if we can set ourselves up for success, in the pre-swing to make certain that we've done everything, posture, grip, alignment properly, and then we get to in swing when things are happening fast, we have to make some major exaggerations for minor adjustments at times.
Absolutely. That's going to wrap up the front nine, but don't go anywhere because I'm going to come back with JR and we're going to talk some more golf and lessons. This is Golf with Jay Delsing.
That was the front nine, presented by the Ascension Charity Classic. Coming up, it's the back nine and more of golf with Jay Delsing.
This is Jay Delsing. Did you know that Marcone is the largest authorized appliance parts distributor in the world? That's right, the largest in the world. Did you know that Marcone is based right here in our backyard of St. Louis, Missouri? Well, that's pretty impressive. What's more impressive is the way that they give back to the St. Louis community and our region. CEO Jim Sowers has donated service dogs to the wounded servicemen and women of our armed forces. Suites at St. Louis Blues games have been donated and auctioned off, in which all proceeds were given to the backstoppers. Then there was the Marcone Police and Firefighters viewing deck at the Ascension Charity Classic this past year. It was a huge success, so much so that it's being implemented on other tour stops around on the PGA Tour. To Jim Sowers and his incredible team at Marcone, we want to say thank you. Thank you, Marcone, a proud sponsor of the Golf with Jay Delsing show.
This is Paul Lazinger, and you're listening to Golf with Jay Delsing.
Powers Insurance and Risk Management combines 200 years of experience and cutting-edge products to deliver exceptional service, value, and clarity to their clients. Powers Insurance will deliver the highest quality property and casual insurance programs and strategic planning consultation services in the industry. Insurance can be overwhelming and confusing. It can be tough to understand. Powers Insurance simplifies it for you and your business. Powers Insurance and Risk Management will partner with you by providing ongoing assistance, consultation, and service that will help you control your insurance expenses and your workplace safety. Find out how Powers Insurance can help you. Visit powersinsurance.com. That's powersinsurance.com. Hey, this is Jay Delsing for SSM Health Physical Therapy. Our golf program has the same screening techniques and technology as the pros on the PGA Tour use. SSM Health Physical Therapy has the Titleist Performance Institute trained physical therapists that can perform the TPI screening on you, as well as use the K-Vest 3D motion capture system. Proper posture, alignment, etc. can help you keep your game right down the middle. We have 80 locations in the St. Louis area. Call 800-518-1626 or visit them on the web at ssmphysicaltherapy.com. Your therapy, our passion.
This is the Back Nine on Golf with Jay Delsing. The Back Nine is presented by Pro-Am Golf, located in Brentwood. See what Pro-Am Golf can do for you.
Hey, welcome back. This is Jay. I've got JR Remspecher with me, and we are headed to the Back Nine. Gosh, JR, this is fascinating. I so appreciate you hanging here with me for another segment. So we're talking about, I'm trying to give folks just a sense of how to be more prepared to take a lesson.
Sure. Well, if a student is willing to change, that's the first thing that we need to understand, and change with delayed gratification. I don't believe that golfers need to get worse before they get better. They have to be understanding of the process. And I always tell people process. If you can trust the process and commit to simple changes, the results will follow almost immediately. So the way I like to teach people is to give them points of assessment. It's like, okay, we're working on this skill in swing. And since things are happening so fast, as we talked about, if they can give themselves a score on a scale of 1 to 10, and to say, okay, I've executed this skill at a 4 and executed the other skill at a 7, they'll have a fair enough shot for themselves. Now, if they execute both of them at 7 or higher, they're going to hit a shot and have a result that's of quality that they like. Now, part of that is the assessment is not allowing any sort of self-deception there. Right. Not calling a 3 or a 2 a 7. Yeah.
Well, there's always that when there's the self-evaluation, we all have a little illusion in there, don't we?
Correct. Yeah, we don't have to be hard on ourselves. We just have to live in reality,
which is hard for some of us. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about personalities, because not only are you skilled in the game and breaking things down, but this is really about people. At the end of the day, we're talking about another human you're going to interact with, and you're going to try to take their way of learning and give them new information and try to make it work.
Absolutely. The biggest thing that I have to do is relate to people on a human side. And if I can get them to buy in that I'm there for them 100% and I'm committed to their improvement, that makes the instruction aspects more sticky.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so important. And I can tell you, there was Dave Pelz did a short game clinic for tour players, and I was with Colin Montgomery, Robert Carlson, and a couple of other guys. And listening to him give us information and then watching us try to interpret it, JR, oh my gosh. I can tell you one thing. Colin Montgomery went one way and Robert Carlson went almost the 180 degrees opposite, with the same, the same message was portrayed to all of us, and our interpretation is very seldom the same.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's a lot of, within our own listening skills, there's a lot of translation that goes on, or this is what I heard. And that's part of the learning process too, especially with me as an instructor, is to make certain that the student is telling me exactly what they heard. Because if there's a disconnect between what I said and what they heard, or if there's something that's lost in translation, there can be a detriment there. But if they want to put it in their own words, that's great. That's part of our own learning process. We just have to make certain that there's a congruence between what I'm trying to convey and what they're actually trying to do.
JR, when I was taking lessons from Jim Hardy, who, in my opinion, is one of the most knowledgeable golf minds that I've ever been with, he would say to me, "Do you see what I'm saying?" Mm-hmm. And I used to laugh initially, but I really appreciated it, because what he was looking for was almost for me to regurgitate the thoughts so that he knew that we were thinking the same way.
Sure. And what I hear there as an instructor, do you see what I'm saying? That's the bridge between skill 1 that we talked about as far as words, concept, knowledge, and bridging the gap to 2, which is image and feel. Do you see what I'm saying? Are you able to incorporate that into emotion?
Yeah, and I'm a visual guy, so I would tell someone, if we first met and you were going to give me a lesson, I would say, JR, if you can show me where you want my body to be, I'll get myself there, because I had that much confidence in my ability to move and things like that, and that was acquired, obviously. But yeah, gosh, there's so much more to this than really meets the eye, and getting a lesson and receiving the information, isn't there?
Absolutely. And I always appreciate active learning from students, whether that be taking notes, because that's part of their learning style, or taking pictures. We do use video and have some sort of photographic feedback when we're doing this. I'm not there to preach or to dictate exactly what the student needs to do. We have to have a relationship to where we're meeting in the middle, to where I can understand what my role is going to be, and that student will understand what their role is going to be. Absolutely.
All right, so let's get into one of the coolest things that's happened to St. Louis in the last 5 years is Family Golf and Learning Center. What Adam has done, Adam Betts is our proprietor, dear friend down there. what he has put together and your team is really special. Talk to the listeners that may not have been by yet.
Sure. So we have what is a top 50 in the nation standalone range. We have a dual deck hitting area. We have 2 grass tees, one that we have a membership function on, one that we have for the public. Par 3 golf course as well. And we have about a half-acre putting green that has, a bunch of swoops, swales, every shot that you could imagine around the green as well as a indoor facility that is second to none in St. Louis, very easily, with 3 different simulators, an indoor practice green with a bunker, a place to hit, also a gym, restaurant, and a fully loaded golf shop as well.
Yeah, so something like this we haven't seen to this level. This is a world-class facility. Great balls. One of the things that I look for all the time is what's the grass like. You know what I mean? And I look, mats are fine in the winter. Mm-hmm. Not my favorite, but we do what we do because we live in weather hell here. But for what Adam's created and what you guys are doing on a daily basis, it's really making people better. And this is not just elite golfers.
Sure. This is golfers of all skill levels, from very beginning golfers. We have junior clinics. We have adult clinics for very beginning golfers, and learning in a group environment when you're just starting there, with the understanding that the game is difficult. Seeing other people, seeing other people's successes, but also other people's challenges that are there as well, can really help one to understand that the game is difficult. It's rewarding if played at a level that gets close to your own expectation. And anytime you can exceed expectation, that's where the real enjoyment, the real love starts to come from.
Yeah, and I'm sure as an instructor, when you get to see someone hit something like that, you walk away with a smile on your face. I have a feeling you do that most days anyway, because you know it's a process. One of the things that you guys have accomplished at Family Golf and Learning Center is the full Monty, so to speak. We're talking about fitness. We're talking about nutrition. Short game. We've got all bases covered.
It has been an absolute pleasure to be there. I've known Adam for a number of years, and when they brought me on to do clinics a few years ago, before I was a full-time instructor, I was very grateful. The compliment I give Adam and the team all the time is we're pulling all the levers. Nothing's left out there. We're not trying to be complacent with any part of the game, and that will benefit golfers in St. Louis, hands down.
No question. And just sitting next to you, the love you have for the game, that we both share that true love for the game, and that want to kind of share that love and to kind of help people enjoy the game better is it means a ton to you.
The reward to watch people improve is something that I guess only a teacher can understand. Now, there's frustrations at times. There are, but with frustration, with challenge, there's great reward. And I would never let my frustrations show. Golf was frustrating enough for the golfer themselves. But anytime that there's a challenge there, that's an opportunity for me to get better. And I hope that the golfers look at the same thing. As I'm challenging them for certain skills, they meet that challenge with the understanding that will get them over the hump and make them a better golfer. And hopefully, with some of the junior students, hopefully it makes them a better human being. If I can teach a 6-year-old how to be the best 7-year-old possible, they're standing a chance.
There's so many life skills intertwined with a game of golf, and the meetings I'm sure you learned. I did as a caddy, where you're with people that are teaching you things you didn't even know you were learning about at the time, and it's just absolutely wonderful. I think when I think about the Family Golf and Learning Center, one of the things that I love about the facility is that there's so much activity around, almost 24/7. Anytime I go there, you've got high schools practicing there, you've got colleges practicing there, you've got 6-year-olds, as you say, you got 80-year-old folks. There's, even with the lousy weather, we've got heat, we've got different bays to protect you from the wind. So this thing's up and running all the time.
Absolutely. And even in times where we don't have the grass tees, we have turf hound mats that are excellent. They're, the feedback on them is good. again, you have to make certain that the player is not deceiving themselves. Ball first contact needs to happen.
You get a little bounce factor on those.
Yeah, if you're not,
sometimes,
you have to understand what that ball first contact sounds like, because if you look at a shot, to where it gets in the turf a little bit, that's not going to be the same when you're hitting off grass.
Isn't it interesting, JR, because, and I know you do this, because sound is everything, isn't it? When you're not holding the club, it's everything, because you can judge a lot by the sound, and your ear gets trained whether you kind of wanted it to or not.
From my understanding, if you remove sound from the player, and this is done via testing from the manufacturers, I believe this was knowledge that I had from the ping manufacturer. If you put earphones on and remove all sorts of sound, that the amount of feel that the player actually has to their hands is not as strong as we would want to think.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, when they hit a good shot within the parameters that we're working on, and it makes that sound, that they'll look back and it's like, oh, did you like that shot? And I'm like, you're the one holding the tuning fork, not me.
Right.
It's like, I can tell via the tone, via the sound that's coming out. Yes, that's what we're looking for. But you have the tuning fork. That's where some of the learning takes place, some of the conditioning takes place to say, oh, I can stick with process. If I stick with process, I can produce results. It's
interesting, isn't it? Because this is a great point. When you talk about sound, and then we're also talking about feel. I mean, it's going to be described and experienced on different levels for every single person. But when you want that positive feedback where you do hit that one shot, ball first contact, the right ball flight, the right flight shape at the target, you want to be able to relate that back not only to the feel that resonated in your hands, but through your ears, so that you know what to repeat.
Sure. One of the things that I like a lot that I've tried to incorporate into teaching as I've matured as a teacher is post-shot routine. If you hit one and you hit it right on the button, it sounds right, feels right, you better hold your finish and stare that thing down. And I always joke with students, it's like, I want you to say, I'm JR, that's what I do, I hit good shots, insert their name. And then if you hit a funny one, guess what? You should still be holding on to that finish anyhow, because you should be imprinting a solution. So imprinting emotion when you hit a good one, imprinting solution when you hit a poor one.
Yeah, that's interesting. So tell the folks how they can reach out to you, how they can get connected to you and Family Golf, and how they can spend some time with you.
Sure. So if you go to familygolfonline.com, we have a lessons profile there. Each one of our teachers will have a bio. You can go onto my bio and read what my philosophy will be. To parse it down into just real quick, I'm going to teach things pre-swing, teach things in swing, right? Pre-swing, we do them with detail and discipline. We have a good chance to do the in-swing things better, because in-swing, as we spoke about, things move fast.
Absolutely. Well, JR, thank you so much for joining me today, and keep doing what you're doing, growing the game, and I know that the folks, what you're doing at Family Golf is just making St. Louis better at golf.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
This has been the Back Nine, presented by Pro-Am Golf. We'll make the turn into the clubhouse and head into the 19th hole. That's next on Golf with Jay Delsing.
Hey, this is Jay Delsing for SSM Health Physical Therapy. Our golf program has the same screening techniques and technology as the pros on the PGA Tour use. SSM Health Physical Therapy has the Titleist Performance Institute trained physical therapists that can perform the TPI screening on you, as well as use the K-Vest 3D motion capture system. Proper posture, alignment, etc. can help you keep your game right down the middle. We have 80 locations in the St. Louis area. Call 800-518-1626 or visit them on the web at ssmphysicaltherapy.com. Your therapy, our passion.
The Legends of Golf return to St. Louis in 2023. You won't want to miss one of the strongest fields in golf. Ernie Els, Steve Stricker, Bernard Longer, John Daly, and many more when they compete for the 2023 Ascension Charity Classic title, September 5th through the 10th at historic Norwood Hills Country Club. All proceeds benefit area charities. Together, we were able to donate over $1 million to those most in need last year. Visit AscensionCharityClassic.com.
Hey, this is Robert Price with Elite Minds. And you're listening to Golf with Jay Delsing.
This is Jay Delsing, and if you're like me, you're always looking for the best ways to improve your game. That means getting the best, most up-to-date equipment you can find in golf. You can find that equipment at Pro-Am Golf. Pro-Am Golf is located in Brentwood, and since Pro-Am Golf opened in 1975, they have been more than just selling golf equipment. Pro-Am Golf is dedicated to helping build your game inside and out. Pro-Am Golf can custom fit all your clubs specifically to your build. They offer private one-on-one lessons, and they carry golf gear for every part of your game. That means clubs, balls, shoes, apparel, accessories from all the major brands. I get asked all the time by golfers, where should I go get fitted for clubs? And I tell everyone to head to Pro-Am Golf. They're the best in town. And make sure you ask for CJ. That's Pro-Am Golf. Visit ProAmGolfUSA.com. That's ProAmGolfUSA.com.
This is Golf with Jay Delsing, and let's head to the 19th hole.
Hey, welcome back. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. I'm your host, Jay. I got Pearlie with me, and we're headed to the 19th hole. Pearl, go ahead and open one. JR, I got to tell you what, I enjoyed just sitting down with this young man. He has got a vibe about him, John, that makes me want to listen to him and makes me want to hang around him.
Absolutely. You know, reminded me a little bit of our buddy who you interviewed several weeks ago, Roger Gunn. Very articulate, very, very into what he does, very good at what he does. I thought it was one of your best interviews, Jay.
Oh, that's kind, Pearl. One of the things that I only want to hang around people in my life that have passion for what they do. And I mean, this guy, he's right there. His approach, he has this seriously calm demeanor with a very intellectual and an athletic approach that is not easy to combine, John.
Well, that's what's so impressive. You just had the sense, just only through the interview. I don't know the gentleman. I've never met him. I hope to. He's got all the parts working together is what it seems like to me.
Yep. And he's understanding that this is a mind, body, physical, he's putting all of these different dimensions and without getting too weird together. And I love it. And it doesn't surprise me that he's having such success.
Jay, I love the road he traveled to get to St. Louis, of all places, both coasts, phenomenal in between. What was it, Broadmoor somewhere in the mountains? Just a great path to get there. And now he's in what you consider a very special place in St. Louis, teaching at a remarkably high level.
What Adam Betson and his team down there are doing, it's right now it's the preeminent place in St. Louis, and we've got some others up and coming. But Family Golf and Learning Centers, man, it is what everybody's shooting for, because you can all levels of the game you can take there and get better and get instruction for however you need it. So. That's pretty neat. I want to remind the folks, John, the last Sunday of every month, so February 26th at 4 o'clock from 4 to 5, Golf with Jay Delsing will be live from Wild Crush Wine Bar. That's out in Town and Country. And the last Sunday of every month, we are going to be at Wild Crush doing a live remote from 4 to 5. So March 26th will be the next time we're going to be out there. I am guaranteeing you somehow or another the audio will be available this time. So you're going to get, whether you want to hear us or not, you're going to have to listen to us. So that's going to kind of be fun. All right, Pearl, we just had the Phoenix Open wrap up, and we just got to put a couple of bows on that event, because those guys, you and I have been going to that. You've been going to that event since the middle 80s. And to watch this progression and to watch what a finely tuned, chaotic machine that's become is really impressive. And those Thunderbirds, they work their butts off, Pearl.
They absolutely do, and they pass it along from year to year. It's just phenomenal what they've accomplished. It was great again this year. The conditions were fantastic. The weather was, we'll call it, unique for the area. But for me, one of the most fun events to watch. Weiskopf did a masterful job, particularly coming down the stretch, but really the whole golf course. It's until you play it, it's hard to appreciate it as much as you need to. As fun as it is to watch on TV, playing it gives you a whole nother level.
Pearl, do you think the great Tom Weiskopf would have ever dreamed that Jordan Spieth would be hitting 81 yard, have an 81-yard shot into number 18?
You know, Jay,
I just can't even believe it.
It's just unbelievable. Obviously, they didn't design the course that way. However, it's still interesting how well the golf course is holding up. But they are having to make it tougher pins, firmer greens, and make it tougher and tougher. The players now are just shrinking the golf course so much. It's just remarkable.
Yep, absolutely. It really, really is. And then this week on the PGA Tour, John, it's one of my top 5 courses in the world at Riviera. I have the fondest memories of playing Riviera in college, and then also getting to compete in probably 20 LA Opens was just absolutely spectacular for me.
It's such a hard golf course because of the grasses, I suppose a little bit because of the layout, and then the marine layer and the marine effect. It's such a tough place, but I'm with you, Jay. It's such a special place. But, man, you have got to golf your ball. You don't fake it around this golf course.
It's really interesting, Pearl. Tiger is going to make his debut for competitive golf. He's coming back to play. You know, his foundation is associated with the event, and so they are the recipient of a lot of the money that the LA Junior Chamber of Commerce raises in that area, and that's really special. But having Tiger come back just changes the game.
I think an awful lot of the golf course is fairly flat. Certainly not the first hole or the 18th hole, but I think it gives them a chance to walk. The demands of the golf course beyond the slope is still a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see how he holds up.
You know, John, he doesn't have a good record there. He's never won there. And those greens, you know, Pearl, they're never the best greens on tour. They're certainly never the smoothest. And they remind me of Pebble Beach in so many different ways. They're the same grass, John. And even San Diego at Torrey Pines. It's interesting because you look at Tiger dominated at Pebble, which is up north. He dominated at Torrey, which is down south. But then to come back and play this Thomas golf course here in Los Angeles, right in the middle, he's never won or come close, really.
Well, Jay, would you say it's because of the demand off the tee relative to the trees? That's the only thing that it would really make sense to me, because otherwise I'm not sure what the distinguishing factor would be between those 3 golf courses.
You know, John, it has to have something to do with the Kikuyu grass, because that is way more prevalent at Riviera than it is at up north at Pebble or down south at Torrey. And it also has to do, John, with, to your point, if you don't drive the ball in the fairway, regardless of how strong these guys are, John, you're never going to hit the 12th green from the rough. You're probably going to have a hard time parring number 10, that 300-yard par 4, if you don't hit the ball in the fairway or a greenside bunker. So there's just a lot of management on that golf course, Pearl, especially off the tee.
It also can play very different, doesn't it, Jay, from morning to afternoon and from day to day. It's kind of a different walk every time you're out there.
Yeah, and you know what else, John? What reminds me of something that's really in play there is the marine layer, and you can get a warm morning and a really cool afternoon, and that is not typical except when you start playing around the coasts.
Well, I think that's going to be another challenge for Tiger, because you and I both know, yes, it's sunny Los Angeles, but it can still be plenty cool, and that moisture tough on your body if you need a warm day to warm up your body.
Pearl, that's going to wrap up another show.
Enjoyed it again, Jay. Really enjoyed it.
Right on, Pearl. Well, we will be back with you next week with more Golf with Jay Delsing. It's brought to you by our friends at Daugherty Business Solutions. Thanks to them, and thanks for listening. Hit them straight, St. Louis. I love having Daugherty Business Solutions as the title sponsor of the Golf with Jay Delsing show. You already know that they're the #1 largest IT consulting firm and the largest software developer in the St. Louis region. You also know that there are over 2,500 Daugherty teammates in 30 states and 3 countries around the world. But what you may not be aware of is what Daugherty Business Solutions does right here in our own community. They were the sponsor for the first Advocate PGA event at Glen Echo this past September. Daugherty Business Solutions was also a presenting sponsor of the Ascension Charity Classic. They have created Access Point, which builds diversity in the IT workforce. This is a game changer in our community. Literally, hundreds of mostly young African-American women are getting $50,000 to $60,000 per year jobs right out of high school, and that training begins in high school. Daugherty Business Solutions believes talent is equally distributed, but access to that opportunity is not. Ron Daugherty, our founder at Daugherty Business Solutions, is the chair of the 2023 Heart Ball, supporting the local American Heart Association Foundation. These are just a few examples of the positive things Daugherty Business Solutions is doing right now in our community.